Hi friends, today I am going to explain briefly the growth rates of the financial year 26. You know that recently the government of India released that growth rates of the financial year 26. So today we can observe what are growth rates in the financial year 26. Mainly the gross domestic product rate and what about other sectors growth rate of the financial year 26. So GDP is the main indicator of the measuring the economic growth. You know what is the GDP, gross domestic product. So GDP is the total market value of the produced the final goods and services within a country in the particular time period. We can call it as a gross domestic product. And we can see this GDP growth rate is 7.7% in the financial year 26. 7.7% GDP growth rate is the overall year growth rate. But 7.8% is the just for only fourth quarter GDP growth rate. You know, in the financial year, there are four quarters are there. The first quarter time period started 3 months, 1 quarter. The first quarter time period is April, May, June. The second quarter July, August, September. The third quarter October, November, December, and fourth quarter January, February, March. Therefore, the financial year 26 fourth quarter January, February, March, the GDP rate is 7.8%. But overall of the year financial year 26 GDP growth rate is 7.7%. This is the real GDP growth rate, not nominal GDP rate. So real GDP growth rate is 7.7%. The real GDP, which mainly based on the used constant prices with the base year. So this year, this GDP growth rate base year is 2022-23. This base year used for measuring this growth rate, GDP growth rate. And even also we can compare this year that GDP growth rate with the last year GDP growth rate. So this year GDP growth rate is 7.7% compared to last year, means so financial year 2025 GDP growth rate was 7.1%. So this year growth rate increased 0.6% increased. So some economists recognizing this growth rate as a blockbuster. Anyway, uh, gross value added also we can see 7.9%, 7.9% financial year 26. And what about other sectors growth rate? So which sector mainly more contributed to the economic growth? We can see the manufacturing growth rate is 10.7%, and trade, hotels, transport, etc. These sectors growth rate is 11%, and financial, real estate, IT sector and other sectors growth rate is 10.4%. Similarly, agriculture and allied sectors growth rate is 3%, and which is very low. You can see, the most of the 50% means more than 50% of the people depends on the agriculture sector, but growth rate is 3%. So agriculture sector has to improve. And even also we can see gross fixed capital formation, that growth rate 8.2%. Mainly this capital formation presents the government's capital expenditure, the expenditure on the roads, construction roads, bridge, railways, and buildings, machineries, factories. So this growth rate is increasing 8.2%. 2%. It is good. And next point is we can see fiscal deficit, which is 4.4% of the GDP. Means the fiscal deficit present mainly the government expenditure exceeds the government revenue. So government is maintaining that 4.4% of the GDP. And even also we can see net exports of the financial year 26. So net exports has to improve because this year financial year 26 net export you can see minus 2.2% of the GDP, which is lower than the last year, means minus 1.8% of the GDP in the financial year 25. Therefore I told and net export has to improve. So this is the financial year 26 growth rates of the Indian growth. And even also in the RBI central bank recently that monetary policy committee happened, and in that committee, after that monetary policy committee released the report. So based on the that as per the that report, the central bank means Reserve Bank of India forecasted the next year financial year 27 GDP growth rate forecasted it will be 6.6%. But initially central bank forecasted 6.9% next year GDP growth rate 6.9% initially forecasted, but again recently forecasted that is a 6.6% it will be the next year financial year 27 the gross domestic product will be 6.6% because the West Asia conflict is going on, and because of supply chain disruptions, so many countries facing the import prices means import prices are increasing. So import price are costlier. You know, mainly in India, the crude price, oil prices, and gas cylinder, fertilizer prices. So these prices are increasing, and even also capital account deficit, either capital account uh, deficit, and also increasing, and uh, foreign investment outflow is exceeding. Uh, so these reasons maybe affect on the next year the GDP growth rate. Therefore, the RBI forecasted it will be 6.6%. So this is the main growth rates of the financial year 26. I hope this video helps for gaining your economic knowledge. So thank you for watching, and if any you have opinion about the this year means financial year 2026 growth rate, if any you have comments, and just you can also mention, and it will be help for me also. Thank you for watching.